Key F1 rule changes for 2022. You're probably wondering why, after one of the most exciting seasons in decades, F1 completely overhauled its rules and cars. There are a few explanations for that. Traditionally, regulations have been changed for safety, as if F1 just keeps letting teams make their cars faster and faster. The last era of cars was the quickest ever. Then it gets more and more difficult to make the sport as safe as possible. That may have been a factor for this year's revolution. Although the main reason is that F1 wanted to move on from an era that has been, Max Verstappen's title win aside, dominated by Mercedes, while also providing fewer overtaking opportunities than hoped due to the weight, speed, and downforce of the cars. The new rules are aimed at improving the show, first and foremost, and F1 is hoping for unpredictability and plenty of excitement. So, let's see the key F1 rule changes for 2022. What are the changes? The rule changes mean we have a completely new generation of cars. The concept, marking one of the biggest technical changes in F1 history, has been overhauled in recent years and is, in essence, a simplified yet striking new look race car, following a drastic aerodynamics overhaul. Safety. As with every new development in F1, safety is a main priority. In the new 2022 regulations, the chassis now needs to absorb 48% and 15% more energy in the front and rear impact tests, respectively. Following Romain Grosjean's crash, the cars are now designed in such a way that the power unit should separate from the chassis in a safe manner without exposing the fuel tank. Antoine Hubert's fatal accident at Spa in 2019 has also been incorporated into the new regulations, and a longer nose section has been implemented to help disperse the energy in a crash, along with stronger chassis sides to resist T-bone incidents. Wings. The front wing in 2022 will be a completely new shape to what was seen previously. Its new job will be to generate consistent downforce when running closely behind another car, as well as ensuring the front wheel wake is well controlled and directed down the car in the least disruptive way possible. Meanwhile, the rear wing will feature new, rolled tips. The shape and position of the new rear wing are set to create a rotational airflow which will collect the rear wheel wake and roll it into the flow exiting the diffuser and reduce the amount of dirty air. The narrower the wake, the easier it will be for the following car to drive, as it'll have less disrupted, clean air. New tyre regulations. As part of the new technical regulations, the tyre size has changed from 13 inches to 18 inches. But that has also gone hand in hand with new rules regarding their use. The Pirelli compounds were designed in order to help reduce the amount the tyres overheat when sliding, and will also help reduce the sidewall deflection changes and resulting aerodynamic wake effect that occurs. The first change is a rule that relates to the tyre blankets that teams use to heat the tyres when in the garage. Previously, the front tyres could be heated to 100 degrees Celsius, but that drops to 70 Celsius from 22 onwards, while the rears were at 80 centigrade, but now also drop to 70 centigrade. Fuel. F1 has been working hard over the recent years to introduce fully sustainable fuel, and 2022 saw the bio-component ratio rise to 10% instead of the 5.7% it currently sees. This is a move to E10 fuel. E stands for ethanol and 10 refers to its percentage. Ethanol must be a second-generation biofuel made in a sustainable way and will therefore have a near zero carbon footprint. A lower budget cap level. One of the conditions of the budget cap being introduced in Formula One was there to be a glide path that would make it more feasible for the bigger teams to reduce their budgets to the correct level as required. So, while the initial baseline figure was $145 million in 2021, that will continue to drop over the coming seasons. This year, the figure has reduced to $140 million, although there are some technicalities that mean the final figure stands at more than that. Given the impact of extra races on a team's resources, not only financially but in terms of parts required too, there is a concession that every race over 21 in a season allows an increase of $1.2 million to the cap, meaning that this season, having 23 races, the cap officially sits at $142.4 million. Aero feature. A key feature of the new 2022 regulations is linked to the downforce and increasing the ability for closer racing. A key change for implementing closer racing has been to place the aerodynamic emphasis on ground effect to create the downforce, and while this is not a new principle in F1, having first come into prominence in the late 1970s, the 2022 car's underflow downforce is better preserved within the tunnels. Frozen power units. The current hybrid power units have been part of Formula One for 8 years, and in that time some incredible development has taken place. But with a new set of power unit regulations currently being finalized by the different manufacturers for a 2026 hybrid engine that'll be sustainably fueled, an agreement was reached to freeze power units from 2022 onwards as the focus moves to the future. A return to a two-part pre-season test. Last year saw the shortest pre-season in F1 history, as largely frozen technical regulations meant teams only needed 3 days of testing ahead of the opening race, with all 3 taking place in Bahrain. With such a major change of technical regulations to deal with and brand new cars to try and get on top of, that schedule has been doubled for 2022, with a lower-key first test that happened in Barcelona from February 23rd to the 25th, before the official pre-season test in Bahrain ahead of the first race on March 10 to the 12th. It's still only 3 days per driver to get to grips with their new machines, however, so everyone on the grid will be hoping for smooth running, as any issues could leave them on the back foot heading to the opening round. A new weekend format. It's not a massive change, but in order to try and reduce the number of times teams are away from home, the weekend format has been tweaked for non-sprint weekends to ensure the practice is later on a Friday. The 2 one-hour practice sessions will remain, but they'll now take place on Friday afternoon, with teams carrying out media duties in the morning. The intention is that it eliminates Thursday as a full day at the track for all of the teams and drivers, and cuts what was a 4-day race weekend featuring 3 days of track action into a 3-day race weekend, but still featuring running on all 3 days. Mandatory practice outings for rookies. One of the biggest challenges for young drivers in recent years has been a lack of opportunities to drive F1 cars in order to try and prove themselves worthy of a seat, with strict limits on testing in between the race calendar. While teams had the ability to run different drivers during Friday practice sessions if they wanted, it rarely happened with the biggest outfits, as they focused on race preparations. So, to increase chances for rookies, it's now mandatory for a team to give them an outing in FP1 on at least 2 occasions. That means each team must use a driver who's started no more than 2 Grand Prix, and they can either use the same driver twice or 2 different drivers for 1 session each if they prefer. It's up to the teams when they choose to use their mandatory sessions, so keep an eye out for changes ahead of each race weekend, as the different rookie outings are likely to be spread out throughout the year from now on. Thanks for watching this video. We hope you liked it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We also appreciate your feedback, so don't hesitate to express your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. We'll be back with another amazing video soon. Peace out.